Good morning. It's good to be with you on this Monday morning. Hope you are well and had a great weekend. I look forward to a good week this week. As we mentioned last week, we will have regular schedule this week with Rooted. We'll have up on the normal times, emails out at 6, post the video and blog at 5 in the morning, and should get the WhatsApp. Send this out. I send the video out through a WhatsApp. If you're not part of that, you can see a link on my blog on how to join the WhatsApp. It's also on the podcast. So if you'd like to get this sent to you directly, you can do that. Podcast out by the same time. So, 5 o'clock in the morning, I think for that. I program it all in early. So, regular week this week. The next week, we will, I might try to hop on here and there next week in Oxford, just depending on how the internet is and depending on what my schedule looks like. Camp meetings. I've never done the old Methodist camp meeting in Oxford, so I'm looking forward to it. But first time there, so no experience with it. So looking forward to going and learning and having a good time. Today we're going to read one of Jesus. I think this might be his first miracle in Luke. Yeah, I think it. Let me look. Make sure I'm not lying to you. Um, yeah, I think so. Where he cast out um, an unclean spirit. So let's read Luke chapter 4, verses 31 through 37. Luke 4, 31 through 37. He went down to Capernaum, a city in Galilee, and was teaching them on the Sabbath. They were astounded at his teachings because he spoke with authority. In the synagogue there was a man who had the spirit of an unclean demon, and he cried out with a loud voice, "Let us alone! What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." When the demon had thrown him down before them, he came out without having done him any harm. They were all amazed and kept saying to one another, "What kind of utterance is this? For with authority and power he commands the unclean spirits, and they come out." And a report about him began to reach every place in the region. So we see Jesus here healing the man with the unclean spirit. A couple things as I was reading my notes this morning, getting ready. First, I think I mentioned before, I use the Wesley Study Bible for my reflections. I like it because I really appreciate the notes because they come from a Wesleyan perspective. Um, but it makes a note, go back to Friday. What happened when he preached in the synagogue? They tried to kill him. We talked Friday rather about how it didn't go great in Nazareth. So they tried to kill him. What does he do now? He goes back to the synagogue and teaches again. And that's a good thing for us to think about. We don't need to quit our calling just because one encounter goes bad, or just because it's not received well the first time. I think back to my first few times I ever preached, and I'm not saying I'm any good now. I hope I'm better it was than when I first started, because when I first started, I was not good. My first sermon I ever preached was at Johnston Chapel, my home church. When I went back to preach homecoming there a couple weeks back, and Will Dowling, who was the pastor there, invited me to come preach one Sunday night, and I was getting ready to go be on a mission team to Lithuania, and so I preached one of my sermons that I was going to preach on this mission trip. And, ooh, friends, it was not good. It was not good. And I'm not being falsely humble and I'm not being funny. It was not a particularly well written, well researched, well communicated sermon. The old saying, a joyful noise is what we should sing with. Well, I preached with a joyful noise. I was happy about it and excited about it, but it wasn't good. And then sometimes you go back and look at your first sermon when you start preaching. And I go back and look at those, and sometimes I want to write to the good people at Boyle United Methodist Church and Lynn and Lytton, even though Lytton and Lynn are close. I want to write to them and apologize because those sweet people suffered under some bad sermons. They did. And it would be very easy to look at the failures in ministry, not just as a preacher. You ever took a risk for God and it not go well. You know, maybe you tried to share your faith with somebody and it didn't go well. Or maybe you tried to teach a class and it didn't go well. Maybe you just tried to serve one day and it didn't go well. Anyone who has served God can tell you the first time it didn't go well. And honestly, friends, sometime the 100th time it didn't go well either. Jesus was, they were going to kill him in Nazareth. What did he do? Went to Capernaum and he preached again. Don't allow your failures, don't allow the roadblocks you face. If you have a calling to it, if you know you've been called to something, if you know you have this calling to it, don't let the failures dissuade you. Well, how do we know what we're called to, Andy? It's a good question. Um, your call is kind of hard to explain. When I felt the call to preach, I was talking with some of my mentors at Mississippi College. I think it was Dr. Bryson who said, if there's anything else you can do in your life and be happy, then do that. That means you're not called to preach. And that stuck with me. That there's nothing else I could do in life that would give me the same type of joy, not joy, same type of fulfillment, purpose that I have in ministry, as frustrating and as it can be sometimes. Um, so in your religious life, where is it when you do this thing that you think, I'm living out my purpose. I'm doing what I'm here for. Maybe it's in music. Maybe you've got a great voice or a musical talent. And whenever you're doing it, you feel it's that great line from Chariots of Fire. When I run, I feel the pleasure of God. What is it that you do that when you do it, you feel the pleasure of God? Maybe it's teaching. Maybe it's spending time with children. Maybe it's maybe it's mopping the floors. Maybe it's putting up chairs. Maybe it's folding bulletins. All these things are things the church needs, but maybe it's also serving your neighbor. Maybe it's taking a meal to somebody who's sick. Maybe it is going to work with an organization like Shower Power or Habitat for Humanity or Trinity Hispanic Mission. Maybe it's one of these things. Maybe it's in giving yourself away that you feel the pleasure of God. Maybe it's in technology. Maybe when you're working with technology, you feel the pleasure of God. But we've all got something that when we're doing it, we're like, yeah, yeah, this is it. This is what I was made to do. And every time I do that, it might not work just right. Get back on the horse. Get back on the horse. Because sometimes what happens is we stop doing what we feel called to do. Maybe we did fail. Maybe we did have struggles and troubles. Maybe we just decided it wasn't worth it and we give up on it and we lose that passion for it. And it goes from being something that gives us life to something that we feel obligated to do or we dread doing or we don't want to do. So sometimes we need to take a break. We're going to read in a couple sections about Jesus wasn't afraid to take a break. We're going to talk about rest. Um, but Jesus knew he was called to this. And even though his message was rejected in Nazareth, he knew that he still had a message to preach. So he went to Capernaum and he preached it. And stuff happened. The demon hollered at him and he cast the demon out. And everybody's like, whoa, who is this man that speaks with such power? And so the failure of, if we call it, it wasn't a failure at Nazareth. They just didn't like it. I don't want to say Jesus didn't fail at Nazareth. It was not received well. It went from that not being received well to now they speak highly of him. And it's going to vacillate. Some folks are going to speak highly of Jesus, some are not. So he didn't determine his faithfulness based off what people said about him. He determined his faithfulness based off his calling, what the Father had sent him to do. And he did it. He did it. And God showed up. So anyway, what are you called to do? And are you doing it? Let's live out our calling, friends. That's where life is found. Hey, thanks for being with us. Tomorrow we're going to read about another miracle, and it's going to kind of have a similar vein. And then we're gonna get some really good. We're getting to the heart of Jesus' ministry in Luke in the coming days. So, hey, thanks for being with us. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow.